Three, two, one, and we're live.
Hey guys and gals, my name is Daryl Ebanks, and this right here is my great friend X.
Hey y'all.
Yes, and this is the Pulp podcast where we review some of the finest movies across the land. And today we're doing the 2018 top 10 films of the year.
I know we're a little late to the game since most people already released their list before the year ended, but we're here. We're starting the new year with a new channel, new podcast, and we're gonna bring you the best of the old year.
Yes, and we're excited for that. We did this podcast before. It was on another channel. We're gonna link to some stuff we've done in the past, and hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, we're just two dudes that really like watching movies. That's the one thing that we have well, not the one. We have a lot of things in common. That's one of the main things that made us be really close as friends.
Yeah.
And it's I'm gonna say off the bat, guys, I'm not like my friend over here. I'm not a movie like critic. We'll say, I don't know. Like, I just watch a lot of blockbuster movies, so I'm here for that.
That's the difference between us. We're best friends, but I guess I'm lean more on the art end. None of us are movie reviewers or critics, so to speak, but we have great opinions, I believe. I'm the art guy, you're the blockbuster guy, and this is us like putting it together, which hopefully is interesting to you all as it is to us.
Yeah, and with that being said, let's get into it. We're gonna do the top 10 best movies of 2018, and if you don't mind, you want to start with your number 10?
And my number 10 is Hereditary. I love this. Like, I knew that this belonged on my list. It kicked some other movies that I love off the list, which I feel bad for, but I know that we're in a horror movie renaissance right now. Horror movies are great again. Forgive me for using that term, great again, but I just had to put it on. It probably features the best performance of the year for me, which is Toni Collette, who plays the mother in the film. And she just did an amazing job. Like, I think she deserves the nomination, if not the award, for Best Actress. The movie is about a family who has certain things going on in its past, and I'm not going to give away the plot. We reviewed it before, which we could probably give a link in the description. It pretty much worked for me, and it deserves this spot on my list. So, yeah, that's my number 10.
So, yeah, my number 10 movie is actually Annihilation, featuring Natalie Portman. It's a sci-fi movie with some sprinkles of horror in there. Would you say that the movie is it's a alien invasion movie?
Yeah, literally it's that, but it's done in a really new, interesting way.
In a very almost like scientific way. If you haven't watched it, you should watch it, especially because we're telling you to. But but no, it's a great movie. I love the visuals. The film changes color palettes, and I love the visuals that happen there, and it keeps you at the edge of your seat. That's a good thing about sci-fi. You know, it's always like they're always pushing the boundaries, and I absolutely love the movie. I had some issues with the ending, and I guess I should probably need to watch it a second time to see if my thoughts about it have changed or not. And I don't want to spoil anything, but I just want to let you guys know that it was a great sci-fi movie. You should watch it. On to number 9 then. What do you have for us?
My number 9 movie was my number 1 for most of the year, which just shows you how much I love.
How many movies you watch?
How many movies I watched A and B, like how many movies I watched that I loved that deserve to be in this list. The movie is Ready Player One. Steven Spielberg's Ready Player One. Woo! The reason why I love this movie is the insane visuals. I think it has the best CGI I've seen. It's a great story, great adventure. Of course, like it's really nostalgic. It makes me relive my life as a kid growing up. I just love how they crafted the story, and I love the world building within that place. It makes me feel that we could go through that at some point. It's one of those adventures that you grew up with and you love and you rewatch over and over. So there we go, my number 9, Ready Player One.
Yeah, I agree 100% with what you said, except that I would have put it higher than number nine. Maybe I did. We'll see. My number nine movie is Bohemian Rhapsody. Now,
Ooh.
yeah, so now growing up, my parents they like some rock music, and that included Queen, and some from a early age. I've been listening to Queens for the most part of my life, and did I say Queens? Queens, sorry.
Live in Queens.
I live in Queens, New York, but yeah, I've been listening to Queen for the most part of my life. And when I saw the trailer for this movie, I knew it was going to be a hit. I mean, I think it was a hit. I don't know, like if it did the money that I think it did, but it was critically acclaimed, and a lot of people really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the performances by, especially by the main guy who plays
Rami Malek.
Yeah, he plays Freddie Mercury. The teeth prosthetics did bother me a little bit through the movie, just watching that. And I know you had some issues with the movie not being so true to what really happened. But if you just watch the movie as a film, I think it was a great film. The music, obviously, it's Queen, so it's it's good.
Music was incredible.
Incredible. And I had a great time watching this movie, and that's my number nine movie. What's your number eight movie?
My number eight movie is the sixth installment of Mission Impossible. That's Mission Impossible Fallout, which, first of all, this is action porn. Like, just knowing what Tom Cruise, what he done with this movie and how he's built up from Mission Impossible 1 is just incredible for me. It's challenging the first Mission Impossible for being the best of a franchise, which, that's hard to do in any franchise's sixth movie. And stunts galore. I love the Halo jump and that, and the fight where Henry Cavill is reloading his fist. I guess everyone loves seeing that, guys and gals. So it's my number 8 movie.
It just so happens that it's also my number 8 movie.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I need to add more to what you just said. The action is some of the best action I've seen in decades. Watching the movie brought me back to being a kid watching movies like Die Hard or like Terminator.
Yeah.
It felt like, wow, I'm watching like action movies being reborn in the way that we used to enjoy movies like when we were kids. It almost had like a nostalgic feel to it. And yeah, like I said, there's not much to add to what you already said. And yeah, if you love action films, and if you haven't, I think everybody watched this movie. But if you haven't, give it a try. It's really good. Now moving on to our number 7.
Number 7.
Lucky number 7.
My number 7 movie is your number 10 movie, which is Alex Garland's Annihilation. I love sci-fi movies. It's one of my favorite genres. And I was really excited to see this movie. It was one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and it delivered for me. Almost on the same level Ex Machina did. The reason why I loved it, it's first of all, it's visually stunning. You go there, you go in the movie, I love the world building and everything that did to flip science on its head. I just completely loved that idea, and I think they executed it very well. And it's amazing imagery. It makes you think. It has one of my favorite scenes, one of the creepiest scenes of the bear that terrifies you in the moment. Great performances by everyone.
Natalie Portman,
Tessa Thompson, and the rest of the cast.
Yeah, that was a great movie. Moving on to, my number 7 is The Death of Stalin. It's a dark comedy. I think you will consider it to be a artsy film, maybe. I watched it in one of those artsy theaters. I don't think it had a wide release. It was like a limited release. But God, it's such a good movie. It's like I said, it's a dark comedy. I don't remember laughing that much, at a dark comedy like that. The cast is amazing. And not only that, but obviously, as the title says, the movie is about the death of Stalin and things that communism can bring to be, very bad things. But that doesn't matter because the movie does such a great job in injecting comedy into it. It makes you reflect on what the movie's trying to say and portray, but also it's such a good movie because every single comedy bit of it hits and every single one works. I can't recommend this movie enough. If you haven't watched it, You should watch it. I hope it comes to Netflix soon. I don't think it's there, but if you ever see this movie, you have to watch it. Okay, I'm telling you, you have to watch this movie.
See, I have not watched that movie, and it's been on my list for a while. I gotta check it out soon. Are we heading down to number 6 now?
Yeah, this is brand new territory.
Brand new territory, indeed. My number 6 movie is probably the most surprising movie of the year. I don't think even you expected it. No one expected this to be as good as it is. Who would have thought that a superhero film from Sony would be on the list? And this is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is my number 6. It might be higher on the list if I had more weeks to think about it. Everyone should see this movie. It's very lovely. The most beautiful animation that I've ever seen on a film. It just opens the pocket more for what you could do with a superhero movie, A. With an animated movie, B. It just flips the genre on its head. I loved it. Great story. Great art. I cannot talk about the art enough. It's something that I'm going to revisit 100 times again in my future. It's just my number 6. That's how much I love the other movies on this list. So, yes, that's my number 6. Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, and the soundtrack. I love the soundtrack. And
oh, yeah, the soundtrack, too.
They throw some Biggie in there. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a great film. I agree with everything you said, except, once again, I would have put it higher. I don't know. We'll see. What was your number 10 movie?
Hereditary was my number 10.
So that's my number 6. Hereditary is, I always have trouble saying that word. Sorry, guys. Hereditary is my number 6 movie. I love horror movies. Grew up watching lots and lots of horror movies. In my family, nobody liked horror movies except me and my mom. And not all the time I got to watch, horror movies, but I always used to sneak around, and watch any horror movie that I could. And this is taking it to the next level. This is technically a psychological thriller, and it brings out the troubles that are within families to the screen, and they're too real at some points, like way too real. The movie is awkward, but it makes you feel awkward. It's very awkward and tense moments. And that's not a bad thing. It's a really good thing, actually. I did not hate the ending like you said that I did, but I had issues with certain parts that happened at the end that took me out of the movie a little bit. The ending itself, it's fine. I like the ending. It's just things that happen during the ending of the movie that I don't want to spoil. But yeah, it's my number 6, so it's
still
real
good enough to be your number 6.
Yeah,
good enough
absolutely. So if you like horror movies, watch it. It's really good.
Yeah, so that's a good number 6. And guess what? It was, as of this morning, it was my number 6 or 7. No, it was my number 7 this morning, but then things happened that made me have to rearrange the order. Yeah, this list really agonized me. So, are we down to number 5 now?
Top 5, baby. Top
5 Dead or Alive. And my 5th movie was another movie that I could have swore was going to be my number 1, because when I watched it, I loved it so much. It's something that gives you all the feels. It's about right now and where this world is right now, and this is 8th grade. Bo Burnham, extremely talented Bo Burnham, in his directorial debut, just dropped this gem of a movie that I think that it makes you laugh, it make you cry. It's just one of those things that just is heartbreaking and hopeful, and it's just mwah. It's just beautifully put together as a movie. It's like a portrait of a girl in her 8th grade transitioning to 9th grade, and it's about how she's dealing with life and social media and what that means in this world right now. It's one of the movies I think everyone should watch at least once. It's one of those things that it should be in curriculums and given to kids. It's just so beautifully done, and I can't recommend it enough. So that's my number 5, 8th grade.
I haven't watched it, but I think you sold me on it. I hope it's on Netflix. But I'll look for it. I'm gonna watch it. My number five movie is Blind Spotting. Did you get a chance to watch it?
Ooh, it's in my honorable mentions.
Oh, good, good. For me, it was such a great movie. Yeah, number five. What else can I say? The movie is about the struggles of, dare I say, most black people in America. Not only that, but it also it touches a little bit of gentrification, a lot of it, and a little bit of actually being a white person growing up among black people and just adopting the culture and not knowing if you know what you really are, if you're white or black or.
It's about race and police brutality.
It's all of the things that are very prominent in today's world. When I watched the trailer, I could tell it was going to be a good movie. I did not know it was going to be as good as it turned out to be, and it has some sprinkles of comedy which help a lot throughout the entire movie. And it gets tense, it's like I said, the very, very, very important issues that most people don't want to talk about or refrain from talking about, but are very, very prominent nowadays in our society. And yeah, great film.
Yeah. I'm happy you said the comedy thing because it is very funny and it's about friendship too as well. Yeah, so yeah, that's great that you put it on your list because I couldn't put it on mine.
So moving on to number 4. What's your number 4?
We are on number 4. Ready?
Yes.
So this is another movie that I wrestle with a lot at number 1. I think this movie defined movies of 2018, and this is Avengers: Infinity War. I think it's one of the greatest cinematic feats ever. The way that you have to incorporate 10 years of Marvel movies into one, all of these characters, everyone else is doing something of note, great effects, great action sequences. The single greatest cinematic moment of the year, definitely, the finger snap. It's going to be remembered for decades, I think, and the audacity to end a Marvel Disney superhero movie the way they ended it, just bravo. Like, I loved it. This movie made all the money in the world. I think only Black Panther outsold it.
No, I'm not sure.
But yeah, it's
Sounds
great.
About right.
Yeah. It's great. So Avengers: Infinity War is my number 4.
Oh, snap. So my number 4 is Sorry to Bother You.
Ooh.
Yeah. You recommend you watched it before I did, and you recommended that we should watch it, and I watched it with you.
Yeah.
And I did not expect the movie to take the crazy turns that it does. It starts really good. It's like the movie, the way that it starts, it's a good movie as it is. But God, does it take a weird, crazy turn. And boy, did I love it. I love every second of this movie. This movie is so crazy. It's so crazy that it divides people. You either love or hate this movie. A lot of people just don't get it, or they go like, what the, like, WTF, what the fuck, like, what was this? What did I just watch? My take was like, wow, I'm glad I watched this movie. Because I like when people, like directors or just creative people, get creative, like they just throw it out there and then just make something so crazy and out there that it just becomes like, I don't know, it's just a piece of art in my eyes. And it was, it's a dark comedy also, I guess. Dark comedies have been doing good last year, in 2018, and especially for me because it's my number 4 movie of the year. Yeah. Yeah,
that's a good number 4.
Yeah, let's get into the top 3.
Top 3.
There you go. Lay it on me.
Yes, we're getting better. We're getting bigger, and just like at the end of the year, Spider-Verse like through just came in and just like took over. This movie took over for me, and it's Roma. Roma, which is on Netflix now, or you can watch it in theaters. If you can't watch it in theaters, watch it in theaters. Anyway, this is the most beautiful piece of filmmaking that I've seen in a long time. Well, it's number 3, so there's there's others too, but Alfonso Cuarón, he did Children of Men, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Y Tu Mama Tambien and Gravity, all three, I love those movies. So when I saw that he was doing this, I wasn't sure about the black and white, but it's done so well. It's about this, it's actually an ode to his caregiver growing up in Mexico, and it's just one of the most beautiful things I've seen in my life. They have long takes in this movie that's it's like, wait a minute, they're still acting and it's still going like perfectly for like a whole minute straight. Just, oh, it is just like some scenes in this movie. It made me cry. I'm not proud enough to say that it's just so beautifully done. I can't say more about it. So,
did you say it was on Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Okay,
now.
I should watch it because the all the movies that you named that he's directed before, I've watched all of them. I really liked all of them. So, yeah, I should definitely check it out. Roma. Okay, I'll put it on my list. That's your number 3, right?
Yes, that's
okay.
my number.
My
3.
number 3.
Finger snap.
There we go. There we go. Yeah. What else can I say? It's Avengers: Infinity War. What Marvel's done, it's an achievement that most people didn't think they were gonna be able to pull off, and like you said before, it's taken them 10 years to get to this point. With some, you can argue there's some bad movies in there, couple, but most of them are really good, and they have set the standard for what superhero movies should be in the future. And I'm looking at you, DCU, because you're not doing your best. You've done better with Wonder Woman and Aquaman, but you're not nearly as close to what the MCU has done. And yeah, I mean everybody and their mamas watched this movie, so I don't even have to tell you to watch it. But watch it again. It's on Netflix. It's just last week it came to Netflix.
I want to watch it again.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my number 3.
And yeah, so that's your number 3. I love that movie. So top 2 now. We're in top 2 territory, and my number 2 was your number 4, I think. Sorry to Bother You.
Ooh, okay.
Boots Ride, and of course I agree with all the things you say, but just to add, I think it's the most audacious film by far this year. It takes so many chances.
That's what I was saying, man.
Yeah, and it's just so good. It's funny. Mm-hmm. It has different meanings, and it's like so out there. Like David Cross's voice coming out of Lakeith Stanfield's mouth is just hilarious. And what it does, and Tessa Thompson, I just love her. Just what this film does is just so amazing. I think people should study this in schools. Yeah. Like it's that great.
Yeah, if you go to film school, instead of watching Citizen Kane, you should watch this movie, or both. I'm not comparing them both. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
All right, that's very high, very high compliment to a film. But Sorry to Bother You, my number 2.
No, don't worry about it.
I loved it. Yeah.
All right, my number 2. Okay, this movie, I think, I forgot what number. You already had it, but it was my number 1 movie for the longest time, and it was Ready Player One. I absolutely love this movie like no other movie. I've watched it 5 times. I watched it twice in the movie theater and 3 times here at home. I own it. And I've read the book 4 times now. And I only read the book after watching the movie because I loved it so much that I needed to get as much as I can from this property. I have never seen, not even in Avengers, CGI like this. The movie is about this virtual world It's a video game movie, basically, but it's not based on any video game that you know. It's based on the book Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. The point of the movie is to collect 3 keys so you can virtually own the internet and be like the richest person on earth. And the first key, the first challenge, it's one of the most amazing scenes that I've ever seen in my entire life. Nothing compares. It's a race, car race in this virtual world in New York City. And guys, if you haven't watched it, watch it. I wish everybody could have watched in the movie theater like we did, so you get the big screen. But even me watching here at home, I'm lucky to have a 4K TV, and it's so good. And like I said, I've never seen CGI like this before. Spielberg. What else can we say?
Yeah.
Just Spielberg. So, like I said, it was my number one movie of the year until my next movie came out, and then it got bumped down to number 2. But I love it so much. So yeah, that's my number 2.
It's loads of fun. I can't get over. That's a movie that I would revisit over and over again in the future.
I do it all the time. I'm sorry. And the nostalgia factor that this movie brings.
Yeah.
I felt like a kid watching this. Wow. It's like pop culture, and I'm huge into video games, so for me it was like just everything that I wanted to see in a movie. It was just there. But yeah, moving on to the number one best movie of 2018.
Best movie of 2018. We should incorporate horns. We have to get that soon. But anyway, I guess before we talk about number one movie, to ask you what goes into making a great movie, not alone number one, just a movie that belongs on this list. What are things that goes in it for you?
Okay, that's a really hard question, but it shouldn't be. It obviously should be the story, right? If it's a good story, it should be a good movie. The visuals, if it happens to be CGI, animated, or just even live action film, the visuals are very important. Sound, whatever the mixing of the sound, if the movie has a good soundtrack or a good original soundtrack, all of those things. But for me, it's just how I feel when I come out of the movie theater. Like, it's the experience. If I've come out of a movie theater and I haven't experienced anything like that before, it just makes me feel like I've watched an amazing thing that I have to share with everyone and I have to tell people to watch it. That, to me, is like something to consider as like some of the best movies that I've seen.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with a lot of that. For me, it's originality, style, story, definitely. Then you go down the list, then visual, cinematography style. Like, I love originality in that sense, and then you get down to acting and character motivations if everything like works out, cast, then clothing, then music, all of these things in no particular order, but like all of these things. So when I was thinking about ordering this list, I was thinking about all of that, and I think only one movie for me was A1 on most levels. It was like, the top dog in the end, and for me is Bad Times at the El Royale. Is my number one movie of the year. And first of all, I'm offended that this movie, I feel like, is getting way overlooked, because I don't think you could have a better acted movie and better characters and better storytelling than this movie did. I love the pulpiness of the movie, like all these crazy, quirky characters, and everyone had a goal and a plan, and everything was etched out. The tension building, which is also one of the things I think makes a great movie, was so well placed. Like all of these like little things that they put in place that they get explored later on in the film. You think like, oh, most movies like forget about like some things, but everything is placed in this movie perfectly, and it just etched a perfect story for me. Like, this is the Pulp. Our favorite movie is Pulp Fiction, and like, there's no other pulpier movie than this movie. Right. I think this, and that just the music, the singing, Like, for me, the best scene of the year, for me, when I saw it, I knew it was going to be the best scene of the year. But then later on in the movie, it gets outdone. So I wish I could talk more about spoilers in it. Like, I would love for everyone to watch this movie so I could get deeper into it. But Bad Times at the El Royale is my number one movie.
Maybe we'll do a standalone review, like a revision review, right? We'll rewatch it and then we'll put it out there for you guys. That movie actually made my honorable mentions, but it's not my number one.
Yeah, I know what's your number one.
I told you the minute that I came out of the movie theater, I was like, dude, this is my number one movie. I'm actually, this is gonna be surprising, but I'm very I don't like. Okay, I'm gonna straight up and say my number one movie is an animated movie. With that being said, I'm not big on animated movies. I like anime, but animated movies in general, I lost my will to go and see them. Even when I see trailers and I think they look good to me, I just don't feel like I want to go see them. Which is, I mean, they really have to touch me, for me to like them a lot. My favorite movie of 2017 was Coco. It was my number one movie because that movie was.
So 2 years in a row.
Yeah. So it just so happens another year comes by and my favorite movie of the year was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and I remember telling you, I was like, dude, you have to watch this movie. I watched it twice. I cried twice, not because the movie made me cry. Well, it did obviously, but it was because of a cameo by Stan Lee. And I'm not afraid to say that. Yeah, I cried when that happened the first time I watched in the movie theater, and the second time I couldn't help it. I cried again, and I was lucky enough to meet Stan Lee. He signed a book for me, and we took a picture together with my brother as well. And and at the end of the movie, they actually have a quote which made me also cry again. It meant so much to me, and a lot of people are played out with Spider-Man. They're like, oh, another Spider-Man movie,
Yeah,
They're like,
I was on this list before this movie came out.
That's why I knew people feel that way, and I made sure you needed to watch this movie because it's something new to the Spider-Man universe, right? It's a new take on Spider-Man. I absolutely love the fact that they show a true New York, in the sense that normally when they do animated movies that take place in New York, you see two people walking down the street. That never happens. We live in New York. It's people walking left and right and up and down all the time, and you gotta dodge them. And the movie literally opens with Miles Morales walking through Brooklyn. It looked like Brooklyn. It literally looked like Brooklyn. And so they capture the essence of New York, the soul of New York. And then they capture Spider-Man. It was the best Spider-Man I ever seen. It's the best Spider-Man movie I've ever seen. Beats any other Spider-Man movie. And it's Spider-Man overload. It's so much Spider-Man. And you'll think that's a bad thing, but it's not. To me, I could have done with more Spider-Man. A couple more different universe Spider-Mans. And
can I just say that it just opened the door into what Spider-Man could be. There is no limits to what Spider-Man could be now because of this movie, and I think that's what I loved about it.
Yeah, and not only that, it wasn't when you watch animated movies, cartoons, the villains is usually, oh, I'm a bad guy, kill Spider-Man. But the villain here, Kingpin, he had a motivation that I'd feel like a lot of people could relate to. It's not just typical, I'm the villain, even though there are a couple of henchmen that are just villains to be there. But something else that you touched on is the animation. God, the art style. It was so good. It was so good. It's I saw people complaining that it was drawn only at 30 frames per second, so it looks choppy. I did not to me that did not matter. It was part of the movie.
Yeah, I think that's what made it better.
Yeah, actually, yeah. And the funny parts of the movie, there's constant comedy going on throughout the entire movie. The interaction between Peter Parker and Miles Morales is like the big brother and the little brother. It's great. It's great. I absolutely love the movie, and to bump Ready Player One of my number one, I mean, it had to like make an impact. Yeah,
you have to be perfect.
Yeah, and it was the perfect Spider-Man movie. And like I said, probably I'm a little biased because, you know, Stanley just passed away, and they threw like the way they put him, the cameo in this movie.
Yeah.
It was perfect. It was perfect, and you know, it touched me. Like I said, made me cry a couple times, and I absolutely love the movie. The art style. Who would have thought, like, after Sony releasing Venom, they go ahead and release another Spider movie and just completely like shit something. Like, you know, a lot of people probably did not go to see Spider-Man because it was a Sony movie, another Spider-Man, and Sony just, you know, shut out Venom, and it did not do that well. It's not a good movie from what I hear. I did not feel like I needed to watch it. Even though I love, what's his name, the main character from Venom. No, in Venom.
Tom Hardy?
Yeah, Tom Hardy is a great actor. And even that wasn't enough for me to go watch Venom. I just watching the trailers, I was like, nope, I'll pass on that. But not Spider-Man. Man, Spider-Man was good. So yeah, I mean, number one, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Take your kids. You don't even have to have kids. Just go and watch it. It's so good.
I don't have kids. I watched it.
Yeah. Well, I took you to the movie.
Let me just say that the one thing this movie taught me was that with animation, the only limitation is your imagination.
Exactly.
Which is awesome. Yeah. So that wraps up our list.
Yeah, and if you haven't figured out yet, Daryl here, he watches hundreds of movies a year, and I just watched like 10 to 20 movies, mostly blockbusters. So that's why. Yeah, I no more than 20, I think.
No, you must have watched more than 20.
I don't think so, but it's not nearly as much as
probably in the 30s.
Probably.
Yeah.
So should we do some honorable mentions?
Let's do some honorable mentions.
I think you have a bunch of them. So let me get mine out of the way, and then I'll let you take over. So, one of the movies that you already talked about, your number one movie, it's Bad Times at El Royale. That's in my honorable mentions.
It should be on your list, but whatever.
Yeah. Also, Black Panther. What Black Panther did, it was something that should be mentioned, you know.
Yeah.
Great movie. And Mary and the Witch's Flower. It's an anime movie from Japan. Here's the caveat. So it actually came out in Japan in 2017, but it was released in the States in 2018. So I know you guys are already typing, saying like that doesn't count, but to me it counts. It's from someone who used to work with Miyazaki in, a Ghibli studio, and you can tell. It's almost like a rip-off. But the movie itself was good. The story was good enough, and the animation was great. And also, my last honorable mention, which people will hate me for it, it's Aquaman.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like the bar is so low with the DCU that when I watched Aquaman, I came out of the movie theater with a big smile on my face. The movie was extremely enjoyable. Jason Momoa, it's the perfect Aquaman. He's great for the role. I haven't even watched Justice League because I hear it's so bad that I didn't want to touch it. After watching Batman vs. Superman, I kind of gave up on the DCU, so I did not watch Justice League. But I was intrigued enough to see what they do with Aquaman, and I think they did a great job. And yeah, those are my honorable mentions. I know you have a bunch, so I'm going to let you take over.
I'm surprised you didn't put Pacific Rim on your honorable mentions.
Pacific Rim 2, it's what we like to call a guilty pleasure. Yeah, so I would never put it in my best of. It's just a guilty pleasure. So yeah, go ahead.
All right, so I have a bunch to name. And first, just to say, we can't I know you just did, but we can't not do this podcast and not talk about Black Panther.
Right.
That made the most money last year in 2018. So that's definitely there. Second movie, I I'm upset that I couldn't put this on my list, which is Searching. It's just beautifully done. The whole movie's on the computer screen, and it just leaves all the details in plain sight that you just piece together in the end. Shoplifters. This might have made my list, but I watched it 2 days ago, so like it didn't get enough time to sit. It's a Japanese film, beautiful portrait about these ragtag group of people who just came together like a family, and it just made me think about how different the world is outside of US, even a big country like Japan. So, Mandy, Nicolas Cage horror film. I wanted to put this on my list so bad too. It's just epicness. We need to watch that together.
Up until this point, I haven't watched any of these movies.
All right, You Were Never Really Here.
Well, except for Black Panther, I did watch it.
Yeah. You Were Never Really Here. My favorite actor, Joaquin Phoenix. He's just really great in it. The way the story comes together. It's like one of these Takens or other movies. I guess a bit darker. It's great. You should watch that too. I think you would like that one a lot. First Reform. Ethan Hawke plays a preacher, and it's about global warming, about
interesting
how this preacher deals with his past life being an alcoholic, and now he's a preacher. So that's great. Game Night and Blockers. I'm putting these two together. Game Night and Blockers.
You know, I should have put in my honorable mentions because especially Blockers. Game Night, I was a little drunk when I watched it, so I passed out. We watched it together.
Really?
We watched it together, so I need to rewatch that one. But Blockers was a very enjoyable comedy. I should have put it in my honorable mentions. You're right.
Yeah, so they're awesome. And I'll put two documentaries now. Won't You Be My Neighbor, which is the Mr. Rogers story. It is what the world needs now. Like, that is so good, and it just tells you who this man was, and it's definitely a tearjerker.
I've been meaning to watch it. Do you know where is it on Netflix or a streaming service?
I'm not sure yet.
Did you watch it at a movie theater?
I watched it in theaters, but it should be in something now. We should look it up. You could at least rent it.
I love documentaries, so yeah.
And Three Identical Strangers, which is one of the craziest documentaries and one of the craziest stories.
Is it what the title says it is?
Yeah,
wow.
It's about these three identical twins that got separated at birth and they found each other randomly.
Wow.
And
that must have been a crazy thing to see yourself.
Yes, and it starts out like that, and it just gets crazier and crazier and crazier.
Wow.
It's like you can't even make up this story into a fiction movie. You'll say, "Oh, that's a load of crap," but it's real, and I loved it. So
is that on Netflix?
It came out the same time as Won't You Be My Neighbor, around the same time in 8th grade. So it should be on something. So we got to look that up. You can look it up. And I'll leave it there. There's a bunch of other movies I like, but like things like Deadpool 2 is good. Leave No Trace. There's a lot of good movies this year. So
yeah, it was a good year for
movies. I'm happy about that.
And that's it, guys. I mean, we're the Pulp, and possibly we're thinking about doing their or most anticipated movies of 2019. So
no, we will do that next week.
Okay, so it's on record. It's on record.
We will do that. We'll be dropping a new one vids really soon. So hope you catch that.
Yeah, we're trying to grow the channel, so obviously, please like. If you did like it, I don't want posters liking stuff that they don't like. Mm-hmm. But if you do like it, hit the like button and subscribe. Subscribe to the new channel. If you like movies, we're here for you. We're going to talk about movies. That's what we always have done between us two. And I hope you enjoyed it. And we hope to see you next week when we drop the next video.
Yep.
Bye-bye.